with the recent news that the San Francisco 49ers completely missed out on Eric Kendricks, who flipped to the Cowboys. Traitor. Can he be a traitor? It technically was never a Niner. But nonetheless, the San Francisco 49ers still have a hole to fill, and it's clear that that position was a position they were targeting. And Eric Kendricks, to be honest, for what they were looking for to help backfill for Dre Greenlaw and his injury, he was a quality signing. So that one stung a little bit, but we are going to identify 5 guys, not the burger joint, 5 linebackers who could potentially fill that hole left by Eric Kendricks. Appreciate you, pal. On to the next, though. So what we're gonna do is listen, guys. I'm not gonna sit here and say there's ultra great options here. The 49ers are going to have to get creative in order to fill some of these holes. So let's take a look at available linebackers that are free agents that can be signed right about now. And again, it's not a very big list to choose from. Even when you look at the unsigned list on PFF, half these names are signed. Levante David is signed. Jordan Brooks is signed. Bobby Wagner is signed. But there's a name. Here's a name. And this is an interesting one because Devin White is a former top 5 draft pick out of LSU. One of the reasons why he was a top 5 draft pick because he has phenomenal athletic traits and he can move extremely well. And he can do things even as a pass rusher, as an off ball linebacker. But he does struggle in coverage and he struggles with being a complete linebacker. And you can see people are judging him off his grades. I'm not a PFF grades guy. So for me, I don't reference PFF grades as an authoritative metric when it comes to trying to scout off stat sheets. That's just not my vibe. So I'm never going to rely on PFF grades. However, it doesn't mean PFF isn't any good. We just don't use the grades. Now, this is a guy who could be looking for some redemption. And again, if his market isn't materializing and he wants to come play behind Fred Warner and really soak up some game. Now, obviously, he just played behind Levante David, and Levante David is a phenomenal linebacker himself. So it's going to be interesting to see what Devin White ultimately does, but I think it's a name worth monitoring. Now, will it come to fruition? We'll find out, but you can see what the projected value is. 1 year, $7 million. That feels like the range of a stopgap at linebacker. So keep an eye on him. That's a name that I'm definitely looking for. This is a name in kind of doing my research that is very enticing. I'm very intrigued by this player. And if you go, look up some quick highlights, Tyrell Dodson is very intriguing. He is 25 years old, 6 foot, 237 pounds, former Texas A&M Aggie. Came out in 2019. Looks like he was an undrafted free agent. And again, like we say, we don't use grades as the end all be all, not even close. But that is intriguing. That in the 589 snaps that he did play, he was the highest graded linebacker according to PFF. Now, again, as I just got done saying, that's not the end all be all. It's not. It's just intriguing. But that's why you go and watch the tape. You go and watch him run around, and it's actually pretty impressive. And he's undersized, 6 foot, under 240 pounds. He came in as a starter with week 8 with the Bills, and he played pretty well. And again, all things considered, when you look at like the tape matches the grade, like you can kind of see, like, all right, he's flying around. This name is very intriguing. And again, look at the projected contract. 1 year, 3.25 million. If I'm currently in this mode of like, all right, we got to pivot and we got to find a linebacker, this is a guy that I'm going to look into. So Tyrell Dodson, keep that name at the top of your mind. Now I know you guys are already starting to roll over, and your skin is starting to crawl. I think the last thing that we remember of Oren Burks is him having to fill in for Dre Greenlaw, and the whole situation with the Super Bowl and all the stats that came out from the Super Bowl that went viral. And oh gosh, the conversation around Oren Burks was just god awful. But he presents a value as a special teamer, and I thought he was a quality LB3. Now, of course, we're looking for a guy who can fill in as an LB2, and I think that's where you're going to get a majority of the pushback. You can already see the comments piling up. I like Oren. I think he fits the team. I think he fits the culture. He's a good LB3, good special teams player. Can he fill that LB2 for a good portion of the year? I don't know. That remains to be seen. Obviously, the last thing people are going to judge him on is the Super Bowl, but he has good standing within the organization. I wouldn't be surprised to see him back in some capacity, but we shall see. Again, I can already see the comments piling up. Um, Isaiah Simmons is another name. Now, Isaiah Simmons was a guy that I like coming out of the draft because he was a traits freak. 6'4", 238 pounds. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Arizona had no freaking clue who he was or what he could be. But to be honest, that's not a surprise because they also took Hassan Reddick out of Temple, who was a very quality player, and they didn't know where to play him either. They couldn't figure out if he was a linebacker, off-ball linebacker, or an edge. They could not figure it out. But one thing that jumps off right off the PFF sheet is his coverage grade. You can see he got traded to the Giants last year. Um, Again, former first round draft pick in 2020 out of Clemson. Are you getting like a stud linebacker? No, you're getting a true developmental guy. You're getting a guy who's been misused, hasn't had success in the NFL, has definitely been what you would consider as a bust, being a top 10 pick. But maybe there's an opportunity the 49ers can reclaim and refurbish him in some sense. The guy that could honestly be a fit if you're looking for a veteran kind of stopgap is Denzel Perryman. I think Denzel Perryman did a actually really good job filling in for the Houston Texans. Now he had some injuries that he was dealing with, and this was actually a guy that I did follow. I play in a DFS league in Dynasty, and this was a guy that I really liked coming out of Miami. So he's a guy I've just been following. Again, undersized, 5'11", 240. He's 31 years old. He's not particularly fast, but he's a thumper. He's a downhill thumper. He's a guy who has a lot of experience, has played a lot in this league. And if you're looking for as plug and play as you can get, and again, he just was playing with D'Amico Ryan. So he's familiar with the scheme. He's familiar with what the 49ers would want from linebackers just because the same thing that D'Amico wanted. So if I had to pick, this is a tough one because you have to try to like categorize them. If you want the best plug and play out of those guys that I just mentioned, it's probably Denzel Perryman. If the biggest wild card is the kid out of Buffalo, young, but seems like he has upside. Biggest developmental guy is between, the former top 10 picks, Devin White and um, Isaiah Simmons. And so you kind of got to pick. Obviously, Isaiah Simmons feels like if you want more coverage emphasis, then maybe you're going Isaiah. If you want more of a downhill uh, gap shooter, then you're probably going Devin White. Um, they're not a complete linebacker, either one of them. So you kind of have to pick your poison there and what you want to try to develop. Um, or you go with what you know. Oren Burks, the guy that you relied on all season. He filled in for Greenlaw throughout the season and played well in those moments. Just had an unfortunate performance in the Super Bowl that only anyone will ever talk about when referencing his time with the San Francisco 49ers. And I understand why, but I think it is important to assess body of work when looking at this. So these are some names, and you can see that it's a short list, and half those names on that list have been signed. So if the 49ers are genuinely looking to get a veteran linebacker, those are their options. The options are not deep. So I'm going to give you the opportunity. Which one of those guys would you take? Is there another guy that you would take that I didn't mention? How are you going, or how should the 49ers address the linebacker position? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.